Basically, Morpheus is a combination of several indicators that are placed into one indicator. The concept is very simple. It's showing you the trend and the direction of the trend by using several things that are going on here on the screen, okay? So we're going to start with the momentum waves, right? So we'll start right around here, and we are going to cover what this momentum wave even represents, right? So the first thing I want to recommend is if you're going to be trading using this indicator, okay, you got your candles up here and you're watching the price action, right? I've seen a lot of people even on their phones, they have this like that, and they might have a few other indicators. So the first thing I recommend is make sure you can see what's going on here. There's a lot going on. You don't want to be missing out because there are fantastic trades that happen right in front of your eyes, but you don't see it because you're not paying attention, right? So what I like to do is once I've done my TA up here and I know we're kind of getting to a bottom or we're at a top, or I feel like this is on a great opportunity for a long, then I would look down here. But I wouldn't just look here and take a long, right? It's just, oh, this is a green dot, let me just take this long. Even though this was a good long, that's not how it works for me. So what I do is I typically would, at the bare minimum, do this, okay? Or I would double click here because I really want to get right in there. And I don't want to miss things like right here. If you look at right there, the green money flow turned to the red. I don't want to miss that, right? So the first thing is you want to set this board up in a way where you can easily see what is going on. Don't guess, don't stay zoomed out, zoom right in, okay? And see what's going on up here and down here. Kind of a 50-50 is pretty good ratio, right? You want to see these indicators at the top. So this is a nice view, okay? I can clearly see what I'm going to do. I could actually shrink down the candle patterns if I need to, and then you'll have a bunch of other indicators usually running up here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss this. So you have money. This is the momentum. This is the end of a move, right? So this is the price came down here. This is the end of a move. And the deeper this gets, right? The deeper this goes down, the more likely it is that it's the end of a move, right? So like right here, this is lower, and then this one's a little bit higher. So you got lower, and then look right here, you think, oh, is that the end of the move? Well, we had another drop after that, right? So the further out it gets, look at this one where it's almost out, you had this pump. This one over here is all the way out, and you had a nice pump up, right? The thing is, this is what many of us, based on similar indicators to Morpheus, have been calling the anchor, okay? I want you to think of anchor as a sniper, okay? You want to go and take out a target, right? So anchor is you lie down, get your gun ready, get your zoom out, get ready to take a shot, okay? And then a smaller wave usually after that, right, is a anchor, right? This is another anchor. So waves usually pass this line right here, which is at the 60, below this, usually are considered to be triggers, all right? So this is an anchor, and this is a trigger. Think of it as lie down and get your gun ready. And now you've got your target in your sights, and you're just following him around for a headshot, right? So, that's sort of the basic premise of a momentum. So the momentum comes up and goes down, rounds here, you get a green dot, you buy the dot, it goes up, right? Typically, right, trading tip, I don't trade this to go up. I look for the next one, okay? Secondly, I am not a fan of a big momentum anchor and then bunch of action up there and then another move down here. I don't consider this as a trigger. I never do, just for the record. I've literally spent days just using this indicator, and I have had 12 out of 13 successful trades just looking at this, okay? So I can tell you now, this is really powerful, right? So this is the anchor. I don't take this, and then if I don't get a trigger sort of immediately after, like what I would have liked is another one right here, that would have been a great anchor. If this comes out and then this happens, I sort of invalidate this entire area for me is invalid now. I look for a reset. Okay, so here was a reset, right? Kind of peaked out. Would have been nice if it peaked out a little bit further, right? And then it went up again. Didn't really have an anchor up here. There was a little bit of an anchor there, and then a trigger. And then you come over here and you kind of take that, right there. You take that. Of course, dip back down. Manipulations at its highest, as we know. And that's why you can't just use this one indicator anymore. There was a time that you could just use this indicator. Price was just moving normal, but these patterns, if you were to take this area right here, for instance, okay, this is covering from the 5th of June, and compare it to, let's say, 3 months ago, you would never see as much choppiness in the movement. So, consider that Morpheus on its own is potentially not going to work just by itself. You're going to need a little bit more. Okay, so the momentum inside of the settings, right? So you've got your show momentum, right? Trend waves, wave trend. So that's gone now. You can turn it on and off by clicking right there. And then in here, it's just these two colors now, right? So you can change them and you can do whatever you want with that. What we've also got on the momentums are momentum waves. We call them wave trends. Okay, so these are divergences on the wave trends. So right here, so we got some divergences happening right in this area, and you can turn that on and off by clicking that. Okay, and if you had a bullish one, which would be at the bottom in green, you'd be able to turn that on and off by doing that. And then these are essentially hidden, right? It's a second, but they're just hidden divergences and bullish and bearish and bullish hidden divergences. Okay, so that's that. What we're going to cover next is the money flow. Okay, so with money flow, what we've done is we've made a couple of adjustments. There is a new money flow that's in this version, and that can be found right here under show MFI, which stands for money flow. Okay, currently this is the newest version, 4.15. 14 was our previous version. So you can kind of, when I press OK, you could see it's smaller waves. And both of them work for you to go ahead and test and see which one you prefer. And you can play around with version 14 settings here or version 15 settings right here, but they're essentially right here. Okay, and I'm using the 15 right now because I do feel like it's less laggy. I've heard that from a bunch of people as well. So 15 is what I go with, but you go ahead and play around and figure out the best setting that suits you and enjoy. So money flow, one thing you need to do again is like when you're doing your testing and stuff, right? You could go right in here and you could turn some stuff off just so that you could see things clearer. So we'll turn that off because I don't want to see that, or the VWAP, right? And now I could see the money flow very clearly. I'll turn off that as well, right? So now we could see the money flow, right? And essentially the way the money flow, I want you to think of it as money selling something and buying something, right? So we're talking about Bitcoin here. This is people buying Bitcoin, longing Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, okay? And then here is people shorting Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin. So money right here is turning into stable coins, USDT, Tether, or other ones. Over here, USDT, or even US dollar, or in this case, actually here, it could even be conversions to other coins, right? Over here, what we've got is money coming in, again, conversion from other coins into Bitcoin, or USDT into Bitcoin, or US dollar into Bitcoin, or any fiat currency into Bitcoin, okay? So you gotta understand that this is kind of giving you a sense of where things are going overall with money coming in and out of any asset that you use. It doesn't have to be for Bitcoin, but in this particular case, we're talking about Bitcoin, right? So typically when you're looking for a long, okay, or if you're looking for a short, typically, if you see a long opportunity, if you see a long opportunity down here, like you say, I want to long this, and there's green money flow already, you're taking a bigger chance because it could be the top of the money coming in and then the price can go down, right? Same thing here, right? If you're considering to take a short, right? and let's say you wanted to take a short right there, right? So you see that it's kind of going out, and it's, you know, there's more people buying than selling, right? So where you would want to place this guy right here is not where it is. What you want to do is you want to take your shorts and take your longs in the opposite of what you see the color at. So for instance, if you see green money flow, right? You see the money is leaving, right? This is where you would consider, or here's where you would consider taking a short, right? And so, you know, as the money goes out, and then, you know, this is where you would close your short, right? And the same thing over here. If you're going to take a long, you want to take this long, right? Actually, there's a green button right there. So if you're going to take a long right here, then what happens is the money starts coming back into Bitcoin. So you ride that wave up and you get out around here, okay? So just going to turn the other stuff back on here for a second. And we could look at this one here. We'll throw a couple of vertical lines up for you guys so you can see just kind of roughly in the area, right? To see what happened, right? The wave trends, VWAP, RSI, right? And so right here, you see how once we got that trigger, right? It was a little wave, so it's considered a trigger. And once we took that trigger in the red money flow, right? This is what happened to the price. And I mean, that was pretty nice size move. I'll just roughly do it for you guys, right? So that's a 7% pump. So that's sort of the explanation for money flow. And with money flow, you also have customization capabilities, right? So you can get in here. What we've got here is the money flow that I've explained, right? And then what else we've got is the styling for the money flow, right? So right here is kind of the highlight of the money flow, right? So you can change these colors to highlight that highlighted color, and you could change the highlighted color here. You could put whatever you want. The reason I put transparent is because when you have a dot, like these two dots right here, they're almost impossible to see if that's a thick green money flow, right? So I've designed this specifically for you guys. I actually designed this all on my own because I wanted it to be very specific for my trading style, which I knew would probably benefit a lot of you. So for the average user, this is already set up to go out of the box when you guys add it to your chart. But you're obviously more than welcome to do whatever it is that you like. That's why we've given you all these customization options. So that's one of them, right? And then the other one is down here, which is the plot background, right? So you can change the color of that as well. For instance, if you wanted to make it, brighter, right? You see right there, you can't see the dots back there anymore, right? So part of the reason why I have it this way is because I want to see those, okay? So there's money flow for you. And the next thing that we want to cover will be the VWAP, which is right over here. And then what I was noticing is price kind of, you see from where I have my cursor right here, right? I'm gonna drop you guys one line, okay? The next click that I could do, like right over, right? If you see, it's automatically clicking. It's the next candle. It's another 24 minutes, right? So that right there is one 24-minute period. That's another 24-minute period. So this VWAP right here, if I zoom in a little bit more for you guys, this right here where it is this candle. And where it is right here is this candle. So in theory, right, if you wanted to kind of think about it, think of it that like, if it's up, then it has to be that size right there, right? Like to go from this candle to the next candle, the line has to cross over the zero line, right? So the trend is going upwards, right? We could see that the price is going up. VWAP represents direction of price. It's just another indicator that is obviously very useful. I use it all the time. So it is very powerful, but I've made it so that I am also aware of it because I'm looking at a lot of things and sometimes you have a minute or two to make a decision. I wanted to make sure that I could see if I'm going to take a long right here, I see this green, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a good time to take a long. So that's all it is, just color for you to identify, okay? You can change the thickness of these to just 1 by clicking right here and here, change it to yellow, put it to whatever you want. Fully customizable for your liking. Let's move over to the RSI, which is something that if you're not using RSI in your trading strategy, you might as well just pack up shop and stop trading altogether. You have better odds at the casino because the RSI is up here, okay, in the bought territory, and you're longing, you're taking a very big risk, okay? And if it's down here, right, and you're shorting, you're even taking a bigger risk. But the problem is with RSI, like everything else, you kind of want to see very quickly, right, what are the opportunities for a trade. So what we've done is we've identified things like this, right? So this for me, it starts, remember, it's 1 candle. This is an entire candle, 1 candle, 2nd candle, right? So this is telling me we are entering the 30, right? 30, I have it set so that anything below 30 is considered to be oversold, okay? So you get this little highlight, okay? And if you were gonna take a long, this would have been a good opportunity for a long. What I want you to look at right now is more the RSI, Relative Strength Index is the name of RSI, okay? I want you to think of Relative Strength Index as, I'm gonna bring over this, let me just try and see if I could quickly bring this guy over. I want you to think of it as this part of the slingshot, like this is an elastic band, right? And right here, usually when you're not using it, it's just sitting right here with no tension on it, okay? When you pull the slingshot, these rubber bands gain lots of strength. That's why when you put a target in here and you let go of your hand, it shoots it across, okay? I'm sure most of you have used the slingshot. Okay, so this is a slingshot. And right over here, okay, what we've got is a slingshot. So this is, think of this as tension. Right here, this is oversold, okay? Right here, tension. This slingshot, look from here to here, it was pulled up, right? It was pulled up and you got all this tension color showing you. That's how you need to think of RSI, okay? Tension, release, okay? And then of course you release and we can clearly see what happened here, like bang, right? So that was a massive drop. On top of the fact, when you start getting things like tension like this, right? Typically it's accompanied with other things, right? So here we had we'll get into that in a second, but here we've got a teardrop of blood. That's what I would like to call it, because nobody wants to see the price. We would have loved to just see, Bitcoin do this and everyone would have became rich and that's it, right? But this means we're about to cry some blood, right? So it's going to drop. And so you see this tension, and then you see this on the wave right here, on the momentum wave, we've got a divergence. Like I said, we'll talk about that in a moment, right? And then right around here, you start getting this, money flows going out, right? VWAP starts facing downwards, right? So for all intents and purposes, again, I'll just show you, if you had taken this short, what would have likely happened, right? Within this area anyway, right? And this is, again, not using anything else. You do want to use other things, but this is assuming that you're not using anything else, okay? So let's go back up here, right? So if you had entered there, if you'd actually entered on that candle, the price never touched it hasn't even come up to that. You could still be in this short right here, right? But again, go down here, that's 10%. So that's the power of being able to identify. So the idea is with Morpheus, right? You want to see these very easily, right? Again, even if it's smaller, right? And you're kind of like, let's go to, let me just move this Zoom thing out of the way. You want to see these things, right? So let's just go here and do a replay. Right, so here you start seeing, this is starting to look. Let me set up. I'm above this 60 line. This is an anchor, right? Maybe consider that, there you go, right? It's starting to get really good. Look at all this stuff, all this red, right? That's behind it as well. There's a lot of selling pressure, and you're just riding along. You keep seeing these tension band. This tension band is being pulled, right? And keep going, and there you go, right? You would have got in there, let's say, right? And then, as you know, the price did go down from there, and you see, so yeah, you guys get the idea. So the tension is important to see. These indicators are created with certain things in mind, right? So right here, we had the opposite of that happen, right? You had all this tension happen, but then look what happened with this big wave, right? So it sort of invalidates that, right? Like it sort of invalidates, because then you got this big wave, and that was a big drop in a momentum change. So you got to use other TA. You know, obviously the swing indicator that we have gives you buy opportunities by telling you, you know, long here or short here. But you've also got to combine everything you see here with the indicators at the top, right? So now that we've sort of covered more or less a lot of the stuff, there's only really the divergences that I want to talk to you about in a moment here, but you get an idea of like, okay, so let's think, right? How would I take a trade? And so what I would do is I would be looking for something in trading we call confluence. In English language, we call it confirmation, right? So I would actually do all my back testing doing this, right? So let's say this was the area, right, that I want to take a long. I'm going to come here and look at where the RSI is. Let's say I was happy with where it was. I could put a checkbox there, and I see there's a green dot. I'll put a checkbox here, and then I would say, you know, the VWAP is facing up. I'll put a checkbox there, right? Money flow is going that direction. I'll put a checkbox there, right? So, and I would say, for instance, in this case, I'm looking for 4 or 5 checkboxes, right, before I take a long in this area, and then I go to the top and look for checkboxes. And you make a rule for yourself, and you say, like, unless I have, these are the 8 things I look at, and unless 7 of the conditions are met, or if you want to be super conservative, unless 8 of the conditions are met, I'm not going to take a trade. And the only way to know what those conditions are to back test. You can join any group you want. I could tell you, I've joined a lot of groups over the years. They don't tell you exactly what to do. They give you an idea. You still got to do the work, right? We are trying to do a lot of the work for you by providing good quality content, so you can trust us, but I wouldn't trust me to say, oh, let me just take that because some guy told me to do that. And some of you have seen some of our competitors' videos where they're getting annihilated. They take a long or short, and everybody jumps on with them into that long or short. So you got to be careful. Not to say they don't make good trades, but you got to be careful who you follow and what you follow, right? Back test it yourself, and then you could be more confident about your trading style and tactic. All right. So we've covered sort of everything in here. Now we're going to go into these divergences and these settings. So for the RSI, I'm just going to bring that up briefly before I go to that. Your RSI settings, you can change the colors here. If you're not happy with the 3 colors, you can just change them all to 1 color right here by playing around with that, and you can turn off the RSI altogether, right? I have one chart that I use where RSI is not even on my Morpheus. I don't need to see it. And then if you turn that off, then you're still seeing these lines where they're showing you the divergences. So you turn off the divergences, right? And now you won't have those lines, right? And you could also have your hidden divergences as well, which was that one right there was a hidden divergence, and show your RSI, right? And you have your settings here for your length of your RSI, which is defaulted to 16, oversold and overbought. A divergence, to make it super simple for everybody who's watching this, because I feel like it's like this big mystery that nobody understands, right? It took me a little while, and I'll tell you guys exactly how I learned. I went on Google and I looked for divergences, and I printed that paper and I stuck it on the wall kind of, sort of to the side. And what I would do is I would spend time with no indicators looking for divergences based on RSI, right? So just RSI with no divergence on it. So just, you go in here and type in RSI and you drop it in here, and then you look for a divergence, right? And the divergence is clearly visible right here, because the price here this is a high and this is lower, right? High and lower, the price is lower and this is higher. Whereas the divergence, and I know it's probably hard to see, you can kind of see that this is, if I see the line that I have right there, this is lower and this is higher, right? So it creates a divergence. Right here, you've got price is higher, right? And this is a hidden divergence. Let's look for it here. This is a better one right here. This is a momentum one right here. So you got a momentum, right? But let's look right here specifically. Price went up, right? From here to here, oops. From here to here, price went up, but momentum went down, right? So that's a bearish move. And that was the one we talked about earlier where there's a fantastic drop opportunity there, right? So these two guys up here are just telling you there are divergences, right? So let's go back. I used this example before. Like you see all these rockets, right? These rockets forming, right? And these are essentially just divergence after divergence, right? So it's just bullish divergences telling you to take a long at some point. Doesn't mean just because you see it, take a long. It means look out. And I don't want you guys to misunderstand, to think this is just automatic take a long. It means we are seeing divergences. You've got a faded version and a dark version. The faded, think of the word, I mean, it's hidden, so it's pretty clear, right? It's almost invisible. It's a hidden divergence, bearish divergence, and a regular bearish divergence. You got a faded rocket, which is a bullish hidden divergence, and then you got a regular color one, right? And you could change these, so that's the beauty of it. Actually, all the divergences can be controlled, but you could turn off all the divergences that we have. If you don't want to see the lines, right? And you don't want to see the, there you go, right? Now it's all gone. So your chart's nice and clean if you didn't want to see that. But at the very bottom here, right? You can change what the divergence signal will look like. So let's say you wanted to make that into a up arrow, right? And then you wanted to do, we might have one in here, like an arrow or something. So you can go in here. This is a Mac. I use a Mac, so I could do a Control Command Spacebar, and I could find a nice. Maybe I use that guy, right? So I could take that. There you go, right? Let's say that's what I wanted to use, right? So you could do that. Pretty cool because you could do whatever you want, right? It's customizable again. We have it set up obviously a certain way because that's our preference. We like it like that, and I think most people appreciate it, right? So the divergence signals are all very visible here, and then if you have the lines on, you can notice them here. Fully customizable, ladies and gentlemen who are watching. You could do lots of things. For instance, we've left the stochastic. We just felt like there was just too much going on the chart, but you could turn the stochastic back on and do all sorts of things. You could put the stochastic divergences on as well. So that pretty much summarizes what Morpheus is all about. As I said, as time permits, we will look for providing you with more tutorial-based strategic ways of using Morpheus. But for the time being, this was a good run through for everyone to understand. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.